So obviously we have had a fair chance now to actually get stuck into Season 1 of Battlefield 2042. It's been about 3 or 4 days now since the season started, and in that time I've honestly probably clocked up 12 to 15 hours or more. And so today we're going to be going through my honest review of Season 1 so far, covering all the different elements like the map, the weapons, the new specialist, the battle pass, and then just my overall thoughts on the season as a whole, including stuff like the actual update 1.0 itself, because that in itself actually had quite a few changes. Before we get into it, if you guys are new to the channel, then definitely hit that subscribe button and turn on those notifications. There's going to be plenty of Battlefield 2042 content on the way over the course of Season 1 and beyond. But with that being said, let's get stuck right into it. So the first thing that I wanted to mention in this video was obviously exposure. That is, I think for most people, the main sort of, I guess, centerpiece of the update. It's something we've been wanting for quite a while now, is to get a new map, and I'm going to say it straight up, I absolutely love exposure. Now, like I said, it's been 3 to 4 days now, so it is obviously early days. After a month or so of playing, maybe we'll find out that it's not as good as we initially thought, but I have sunk in a lot of hours. Like I said, it's probably been 12 to 15 hours of just exposure 24/7, using a bunch of different weapons and specialists and trying to just get a good feel for the map. And so although it is early days, I do say with a fair bit of confidence that I think this is a really solid map, and I honestly think this is the best map that we've gotten for Battlefield since all the way back in Battlefield 1 days. Now, I do think some of the Battlefield 1 maps are probably a little bit better, but essentially since the DLC maps of Battlefield 1 and then obviously all of the Battlefield 5 maps, I really do think this is the best that we've gotten since then. So that kind of sums up how I feel about it. You guys will know that I'm a big Battlefield 1 fan. I'm a big fan of Battlefield 4 as well, and to me this map is on par with essentially all of the maps in those games. It's probably better than some of the maps in Battlefield 4 and 1, and it's probably worse than some of the maps as well. So it's not like it's the best map that I've ever played on or anything, but it is definitely in that conversation with the rest of those maps, and that's really more than I could have asked for, because to be honest, I wasn't really expecting that much from this map. The rest of the maps in Battlefield 2042, they're just really not Battlefield maps in my opinion. They all look pretty nice, and there are certain sections of each map that, you know, they do play decent, but the entire map as a whole, for most of those maps, they're just not that good. So to be honest, I wasn't really expecting all that much with this map, and it's absolutely blown my expectations out of the water. For me, the part that I like the most about exposure is probably just the fact that there kind of is something for everyone. There's obviously the sort of like plateau section up the top, the area that's, you know, grassy and it's above the cliff face. That area has a lot of different sections, so there's some wide open areas for, you know, sniping and vehicle play. There are some close quarters areas for some more infantry based gameplay, and it also feels like it's not too spread out. I guess A and F, those two sectors are pretty far apart, but in terms of say A1 to A2, it does feel like you can kind of capture A1 and then you only have to run, you know, less than a minute to get to A2, and there's generally a few gunfights that actually happen between it as well. So it feels like all of the, I guess, spacing up above there, it feels really good. And yeah, I'm a big fan of that top section. I just feel like it has something for everyone. Now, in terms of the, I guess, like underground sections as well, they are absolute chaos, and I love that. That's what I've been wanting for Battlefield 2042. It feels like most of the other maps in the game, they're really suited to vehicles. They're very open, even when there's a bit of cover, like if there's a chopper above you, there's no, you know, aerial cover or anything like that. But in these bunkers on the lower section of exposure, there's no vehicles down there, and it's just so much fun being able to have some genuinely infantry focused gameplay in some really tight areas where there's honestly sometimes there'll be like 10 on each team sort of fighting over those areas, and it is genuine chaos. There's grenades going everywhere. You can spray into a hallway and get like a triple kill. It's absolute madness down there sometimes, and it does remind me a little bit of Locker, Operation Locker from Battlefield 4 for those who don't know that map. And so yeah, I'm a big fan of this map. I genuinely think this is one of the best Battlefield maps we've gotten in essentially 5 or more years now. I think instantly this is better than every single map that's in Battlefield 5, and it's better than a lot of the maps in Battlefield 1, which says a lot because I really enjoy a lot of those maps. There's really no map in Battlefield 1 that I dislike, so the fact it's in that conversation pretty much says all that I need to say about the map. Now, moving on to the weapons, we obviously got the BSVM, which is a marksman rifle, and then we also got the crossbow. Starting off with the BSVM, this is a really fun weapon to use. It's kind of like a very versatile gun, so it's not dominant in any area, but it is just really good across all ranges. So you can do pretty well with it up close, and you can also do pretty well with it at long range. And for me, it is a lot of fun to use. It's honestly already probably in my top 5 favorite weapons, if not top 3. It does really suit my playstyle because I do enjoy getting up into those close quarters battles, but then it is also kind of annoying. Sometimes you'll be using, say, an SMG, and then when you're moving to another flag or something like that, you can kind of get stuck in one of those sections where you're not really equipped because you've got an SMG and someone else has like a marksman rifle or an assault rifle. And so being able to switch and actually, you know, compete with those weapons, you'll probably still lose to like a DM7 for example, but you do at least have a chance, and if you play better than the opponent, then you can still win that gunfight. So for me, the BSVM is absolutely awesome. I love it so far. It feels pretty balanced so far, but again, we will just have to wait and see after probably a few more weeks just to see once everyone's unlocked it and played with it. But yeah, so far feels super fun, very versatile, and it doesn't feel overpowered just yet. Now, as for the crossbow, this is obviously just a crossbow, so it kind of speaks for itself. We all know what a crossbow was going to be. It's a good, fun little like gimmicky type of weapon. It's not going to be a dominant weapon, but it's also feeling so far like you can actually use it. It doesn't feel like it's just completely useless. So once again, I'm a big fan of this. I haven't really used it too much just yet, but for me, I'm a big fan of having these type of weapons where it's a bit more of like a gimmicky, fun type of weapon rather than like some really dominant assault rifle, for example. And so yeah, big fan of the crossbow as well, and I'm definitely keen to get stuck in there and try and get some big high kill games with it. Now moving on, we also have Lise, or Liz, however you pronounce that. She is the new specialist, and what I will say is that obviously I think we kind of all agree on this, that the specialists, they're just not that good in this game. I can appreciate the way that they tried to go, but it just hasn't really panned out. And so I do like Lise, but I will say that it's kind of hard to gauge because at the end of the day, I'd still just prefer to have classes. So it does kind of have pros and cons, but in terms of her playstyle, I do really like it. I'm one of those players who enjoys, you know, hunting tanks and trying to take out vehicles and stuff like that, and using Lise with that rocket launcher as well as like some C5 for example, it is a really fun way to play. So overall, pretty happy with her so far. A lot of people were sort of saying that she was going to be overpowered. A lot of the people who got their hands on early sort of felt like she was overpowered. To me, she feels pretty balanced. I don't think she's overpowered at all, and I've actually only got like 2 or 3 vehicle kills with her despite having played her for like hours and hours, so I don't think she's overpowered at all, and yeah, she's definitely pretty fun to play. Now the next thing, which is probably one of the bigger things for me personally, is the battle pass, and this is something that I was pretty curious to see how this was going to go, because obviously Battlefield has never done a battle pass before, but for me this is essentially what I would classify as a satisfactory battle pass. So I think it's good enough. I think it has enough, you know, nice skins and all that kind of thing in it that I'm happy enough with it. I don't think it's anything special. I think there have been better battle passes in most of the other games that I've played that have had them, for example Apex or Warzone. I don't really play Fortnite, but I know Fortnite always generally has a really good battle pass, and so I think I would still give them a pass mark. I think it's a decent enough battle pass, and if we get one like this every season, then I'll still take that. I think it's decent enough, but what I will say is that I do hope that the next, you know, season 2 and season 3, for example, their battle passes are maybe a step up from this one, because although what we get in there is pretty decent, I do think it would be nice to have some more, like, I guess, out there skins, and I don't mean out there in terms of like anime girls, like the pink anime skins that you see in Warzone, for example. I don't want anything like that in the game, but just going a bit more out there and a bit closer to the stuff like, for example, McKay's Steadfast skin, just being a little bit more risky with their skins, I guess, because a lot of them are pretty basic and they're almost just a little bit of a different color to, you know, the other skins for the characters. They don't really change the actual look of them, they just change the color of their skins. So like I said, I'll still give them a pass mark. I think for their first battle pass, it is satisfactory, and obviously this game has had a lot of issues, and so we know this season doesn't have a lot of content and stuff, and so I'm willing to give them a little bit of leeway there, just because the fact that they've actually still put out 100 tiers worth of content when they're obviously struggling to sort of keep up with what we expect from a live service, I do think it is definitely a job well done from them. So definitely fairly happy with it, but I do hope that they kind of improve on that in future seasons. Now the last thing to touch on for the season is actually just update 1.0 itself, which was actually the update that dropped I think 2 days before the season actually went live, and for me this was a really good update. The game actually feels really genuinely good right now. There's obviously still a lot of work to be done, and it's not the best Battlefield game I've ever played, but I've actually got that itch to play it. It feels like it's running smooth, and the gunplay and the movement, it all feels really nice at the moment. And like I said, I haven't had that itch to actually play Battlefield consistently for months now. Like I'd still jump on and play, but it's never really like the itch that you get when there's a really good game. It's more just like, oh, I've better get some footage for the videos, for example. But right now, like all I can think about all day while I'm working away is just jumping on and playing Battlefield. So I really think Update 1.0 was arguably one of the better parts of Season 1, to be honest. It'll go very unnoticed because it wasn't the content itself, it was just, you know, bug fixes and stuff like that, but I do think the game is feeling a lot better than it was 2 to 3 months ago, and obviously part of that is the new map and all the weapons and that kind of thing, but I think the other side of it is that it is just genuinely feeling a lot smoother and I guess more polished, which is definitely very necessary for this game because it did not launch in a polished state at all. Like I said, though there is still work to be done, I do think the downside to this season is that there is only one map and 2 weapons and 1 specialist, and I think a lot of people were expecting a bit more than that. Now for me personally, I'm okay with it because I wasn't expecting a lot more. This for a regular season is satisfactory to me. It's just the fact that it came 8 months later that I think we all kind of expected a little bit more. But for me personally, like I said, I wasn't even sure we'd get the map straight away. So I definitely see where people are coming from with the, you know, saying it's not enough content, and I guess I technically agree with that, but I've just I came to terms with that months ago that we probably wouldn't be getting much in this season. And so yeah, that's really the only downside to me, is just the, I guess, lack of content. And I do hope in future seasons maybe we get like 1 new map and maybe a new remastered portal map, for example, and then, you know, 2 new weapons and 2 portal weapons, or whatever the case may be. I'm not expecting them to be able to put out 2 brand new maps. I just think that's too much for them. They're obviously struggling to even put out 1 at a time, so my expectations are very tempered. But that being said, I do hope that they can, you know, up the ante and try and put out a bit more content in the coming seasons. Now, that is going to do it for my thoughts on the season, but I'm very keen to hear what you guys think. So far, the general consensus seems to actually be pretty similar to what I said. All the content is good, but there's just not enough content. So I'm keen to hear what you guys think, whether you guys think that, or whether you aren't happy with the content, or whether you think this is a really good season. So definitely let me know your thoughts down in the comment section. Like I said, there's going to be plenty more Battlefield 2042 content on the way. I'm actually working on a video going over the best weapons for Season 1, because obviously, like I said, Update 1.0 had a fair few changes. So that'll be going up later this week, and then, like I said, there'll be plenty more content surrounding Season 1, as well as just Battlefield 2042 in general. So if you're not subbed already, be sure to hit that sub button and turn on those notifications so you don't miss out on any upcoming content. If you want to support the content that I make here on YouTube, then consider becoming a channel member. But with that being said, thank you all very much for watching. You guys have a great day, and I'll see you all out there on the battlefield.